Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this episode 3730 AN. Today's date is September 14th, 2025, and the title of the episode is The Central Bank is Telegraphing Their Next Move. Economic pieces are being positioned to counter. Let's talk about protecting our wealth. Do you ever wonder if your 401k or IRA will really cover your retirement? The truth is, traditional accounts often can't keep up with today's rising costs and an unpredictable economy. At My Digital Money, they believe your future deserves more than usual safe options. That's why My Digital Money makes it simple to invest your retirement funds in top-performing assets like Bitcoin, up over 1,000% in the past 5 years, and other cryptocurrencies, so you can build a stronger future with potential tax-free returns. With no annual fees, free cold storage to protect your assets, and a partnership with Equity Trust, the nation's largest self-directed IRA provider, managing over $74 billion, you can invest with confidence knowing your money will be there when you need it. You've worked hard for your savings. Now let your money work for you. Visit mydigitalmoney.com today and discover a smarter way to secure your future. Or just click the link in the description. Let's get right into the economic collapse financial news. Now, the deep state, the corrupt politicians, the private West Central Bank, the World Economic Forum. We can see they are now telegraphing and letting us know the direction they want the world to go. Now, this doesn't mean the world is going to head in this direction, but you can see that they're going to push it as hard as they possibly can, because there is a battle going on right now between two systems. The system that Trump and the Patriots are now creating, it's the parallel economic system, and their system, which is a central bank system. And we've known going back to 2020, and even further back than that, but that's when they announced it. We knew at that point that they were going to try to bring us into the Great Reset. And what is the Great Reset? That is everything that they dreamed of. Complete and utter control over the financial world, where they control everything from a centralized location. And the way to do that is with a central bank digital currency. And we know here in the United States, there's legislation. Trump has already signed an executive order saying, no, we're never going to allow central bank digital currency into this country. But other countries, they haven't done the same. And we're seeing out in Europe and in many other places, they will accept this. It's almost like the COVID vaccine passports. They were pushing it very, very hard throughout Europe, and a lot of people had to get the vaccine passport. Here in the United States, there were a couple of states that tried to do it, but they completely and utterly failed because the Constitution protects the people of this country. And now you could see that out in Europe and many other places, they are now pushing the central bank digital currency. They're moving towards the system that they want. Now, I do believe Trump and the Patriots, they have already put a lot of the economic pieces together to counter what they're trying to do. This is why Trump has announced the Bitcoin reserve, the crypto reserve. This is why he wanted the Genius Act passed for the stable coin. I do believe all these pieces are being put into place to protect the country from what the central bankers want to do. And we know that Trump has been pushing the central bank to lower the rates. Now, again, we know the central bank, which is the Federal Reserve in this country, we know that they've been pushing back very, very hard, because what they really want, and to bring us into the Great Reset, what they really want is a total implosion of their economic system. Now, of course, they don't want to take blame for this. So what they have done here is they set it up, and this is why, not Obama, but Biden, even though it is Obama running the administration back then, Biden came out and said, listen, I'm handing off a very strong economy to Trump. And we now know today that the economy was one gigantic illusion. All the jobs are fake. The GDP numbers are fake. Everything is fake. And basically, this is how they set it all up, because they want Trump to take the fall for all of this. But that is not going to happen, because I do believe Trump, he has put a lot of these things into place, and now he's going to move very, very quickly to make sure that everything else is in place, like the Bitcoin reserve. And I do believe that's going to be made up of many other cryptos. And by doing this, he'll be able to counter what they're prepared to do. And you can see the headlines in a lot of the fake news. They're getting prepared and ready to blame it on Trump. Now, again, I do believe they're going to try to push some type of an event to try to trigger the implosion of the economy. And then, of course, turn it around and blame it on Trump, just like they did during COVID. They blamed the entire economy on Trump. Remember, the system was shut down because there was an alleged virus that was so deadly that nobody could go to work. Now, of course, this has nothing to do with Trump, but they turned it around and made it seem like this was his fault. I do believe they're going to try to do the same thing this time around, but it's not going to work. And how do we know the central bank is now telegraphing their moves? Well, just listen to what the ECB president, Lagarde, said. And this is what she said. To rapidly establish the legislative framework for the potential introduction of our digital euro. So basically, they're moving forward with the central bank digital currency. And that should tell you everything you need to know right there. Now, again, what is happening? We know that the Federal Reserve, most likely they will cut the rates. Now, is it going to be a point? Is it going to be a point and a half? I do believe it's probably going to be around a quarter of a point. Now, of course, they are now trapped in all this because, again, all the job numbers are completely and utterly fake. And again, you have to remember, they were using these fake numbers to call the shots. Now, if they were truly for the benefit of the people, they would say, holy crap, we've been following these fake numbers. They're all wrong. It's one gigantic lie. And actually, at this point in time, we should really be around a point and a half lower than where we are today. And this is why I do believe Trump is continually saying that, Powell is too late. And he's continually saying that the rate should be much, much lower. And if the Fed was truly here to benefit we, the people, this is exactly what they would do. Now, I do believe what they're going to do is they're going to bring it down a quarter of a point and say, hey, the numbers suggest that we start lowering the rate. We're not going to move too fast. There's a lot of pressure from Trump, and they're going to turn it around and try to say that Trump has been pressuring the Federal Reserve to do all of this. Now, I do believe this is going to coincide with some type of an event, an economic event or something, and this way they can turn it around and blame it on Trump. I mean, look at the headline from KMBC. It says, Federal Reserve to announce interest rate cut amid economic slowdown, pressure from President Trump. Well, yes, Trump has been saying the rate should be lower because the job numbers are completely and utterly fake. But when you look at this is not really pressure from Trump. The job numbers are fake. They made decisions with fake information, which means the economy is completely and utterly fake right now, which means if all these job numbers are fake and no jobs have been created, we're in a recession. That's really what's happening. Remember, Janet Yellen covered all of this up. And right now, we can see they're probably setting the narrative. Now, this is why Trump has been putting all the pieces together and getting the new system prepared to counter the central bank system. And it's not just the central bank in this country. You have to remember, this is worldwide. If America falls, every single economic system, every country falls right after America. Trump knows he needs to make sure that the United States. Let me ask you something. If you've built 100,000 or more in investments, do you really want all of it riding on the stock market? Think about it. Banks, billionaires, even entire countries are loading up on physical gold and silver. Why? Because when markets swing, real assets hold their value. That's why I want to tell you about Noble Gold Investments. They make it simple to own investment-grade gold and silver, the kind the big players are buying. And you can actually hold it in your hand or put it safely in your retirement account. You've worked hard to build your wealth. Isn't it time you protected it? Noble Gold is family-owned, trusted by thousands, and ranked number one in gold IRAs for 4 years in a row. Their precious metal specialists are standing by to answer your questions and walk you through every step. Simple, safe, and easy. Visit x22gold.com. That is x22gold.com. Or just click the link in the description. And remember, past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals involves risk. Consult your financial advisor before making investment decisions. Does not implode. And I do believe this is why he set everything up, and this is why he prepared everything. And this is why he needed the Genius Act. This is why he needed the stable coin. And right now, it looks like there's a very strong chance the U.S. will form a strategic Bitcoin reserve this year. And I do believe most likely they're going to do it. Now, there is a high likelihood that the United States government will form the highly anticipated strategic Bitcoin reserve by the end of the year. And this is coming from Galaxy Digital's head of firm-wide research, Alex Thorne. Several developments hint that the plan is moving forward. While U.S. President Trump signed the executive order officially establishing the strategic Bitcoin reserve and U.S. digital asset stockpile in March, a formalized strategic plan has not been confirmed yet. However, several recent developments suggest that the plan is still progressing. U.S. lawmakers introduced a bill directing the U.S. Treasury to examine and produce a report on the feasibility and technical considerations of the strategic Bitcoin reserve. On July 31st, Cointelegraph reported that Trump's crypto liaison confirmed the administration is still keen on strategic Bitcoin reserves, despite only briefly mentioning it in its recently published crypto policy report. So I do believe they're probably waiting for the right moment. They don't want to do it too soon, but I do believe it will be established. And I do believe by doing this, this is not just going to probably make Bitcoin move up, but also gold. I do believe everything is interconnected, especially the alternative currencies, which is actually going to be the currencies of this country. And remember, he's using all of this to go after the central bank. And I do believe eventually what he's going to do is he's going to bring gold into the fold in all of this. And I do believe this is why, going back a little bit in time, Elon Musk kept on saying, listen, we need to audit the Fort Knox. We need to see if the gold is there. Trump actually seconded this. And I do believe this was to get the narrative started, to get people thinking about gold. Now, does he want to do this too soon? Think about it. If he went in there and said, holy crap, look at this. Let's say all the gold was there, and actually more gold was there than previously accounted for. Would this shake the entire economic system? I do believe so. Now, let's use the other example. What happens if he went in there and they went to audit Fort Knox and there was no gold in there? Would this shake the entire economic system? Yes, it would. Now, once again, why would he want to destroy the economic system? At that point, he wouldn't. So would you use this later on? Would you audit Fort Knox later on and probably many other places? Yes, you would. Would you also audit the Fed later on once the parallel economic system is established? Because you don't want to do it too soon, because remember, you're building it up to compete with the Federal Reserve economy, because that's really what this is. It's a Federal Reserve economy. And once again, I do believe he needs to make sure that all the pieces are in place. He needs to make sure that every American is protected. He needs to make sure that the Federal Reserve note, as strange as it might sound, it doesn't implode on itself, because you need it at a certain position to transition away from it. And I do believe this is what he's been setting up this entire time, because again, what's the point of destroying the old system if you're going to destroy everyone's wealth? You want to keep everyone's wealth intact, and you want to make sure the system is okay and strong enough to handle the transition as we move into a new system with new currency. And I do believe the new currency is going to be made up of gold. It's going to be made up of cryptocurrency. And I do believe this is going to counter the Federal Reserve note, because you have to remember, the Federal Reserve note is not the people's currency. The Federal Reserve note is the product of the Federal Reserve. This is their product, and they loan it to the American people. I mean, really think about this. Think about what the government, since the Federal Reserve came into existence, think what they're able to do. They're allowed, and this is completely unconstitutional, they're allowed to go in and look through your personal finances. Just think about that for a second. Let's say we have law enforcement. They want to come in and look through your home without a warrant. Is that unconstitutional? Yes. Why can they look through your finances, your personal finances, without any type of warrant? I mean, really think about this. Because the currency that you're using is not yours. You're borrowing it. It belongs to the Federal Reserve. It doesn't belong to the government. It belongs to a private corporation. So they created a organization called the IRS, the Internal Revenue Service. Remember, Trump is bringing external revenue in here so we can get rid of the Internal Revenue Service, which allows them to go in and look at what you have been doing personally. Because again, they're keeping track of their product. And since their product is loaned to you, they want payment on that loan. That's what they've been doing. And this, if you really look at it, is completely and utterly unconstitutional. This is not what the founding fathers wanted. They didn't want the government or anyone else looking in on your private finances. Right now, if they were alive today, they're going, what the hell did you just do? You're letting them come in and look at your personal business, what you're spending, what you're doing? That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. We fought a revolution to keep all of that private. This is what the British government used to do. And here we are once again. I do believe Trump and the Patriots, they are now setting everything up to shift us away from all of that and bring us back into a place where the people can keep their finances absolutely private. The government and no other body has any right to know what you've been doing personally with your money. But again, you have to remember, this is not your money. It's borrowed from a private corporation. This is how they got around all of this, because the government isn't actually issuing it. And this is what Trump and the Patriots are prepared to completely and utterly shut down. And I do believe this is why he's been putting all the economic pieces together to create the countermeasures to go up against what the central bank, what the deep state players are trying to do here. And I do believe you could see the central banks, they're moving forward with the plan because now they're panicked because Trump's system is operational, it's running, it's getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And I do believe when they try to make their move, it's not going to work out too well for the deep state, for the central bankers, and everyone else. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.